हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज हम लोग शुरू करने वाले हैं इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी सिस्टम। द इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी सिस्टम refers to the customs, rules, instruments, facilities and organization facilitating international or external payments. Sometimes the IMS is also referred to as an international monetary order or regime. The IMS can be classified according to the way in which exchange rates are determined, that is, fixed currency regime, floating currency regime, or managed exchange regime, and the form foreign reserve take, that is, gold standard, a pure judiciary standard, or gold exchange standard. An IMS is considered good if it fulfills the following two objects in an impartial manner. First, maximize the flow of foreign trade and foreign investment, leads to an equitable distribution of gains from trade among the nations of the world. Evolution of an IMS is carried out in terms of adjustment, liquidity, and confidence, which it manages to wield. Adjustment refers to the process by which balance of payment crises of the nation of the world or the member nations are corrected. A good IMS tries to minimize the cost of balance of payment and time for adjustment for the nation. Liquidity refers to the amount of foreign currency reserve available to settle the BOP crisis of nations. A good IMS maintains as much as foreign reserve to mitigate such crises of the nations without any inflationary pressures on the nations. Confidence refers to the faith the nations of the world should show that the adjustment mechanism of the IMS is working adequately and that foreign reserve will retain their absolute and relative values. And this confidence is based on the transparent knowledge information about the IMS. Bretton Woods development. As per the powerful nations of the world were hopeful of a new and more stable world order with emergence of UNO, United Nations Organization. They were also anxious for a more homogeneous world financial order after the Second World War. The representatives of United States, the UK, and 42 other total 44 countries nations meet at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, USA in July 1944 to decide new IMS, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank with its first group institutional International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development were set up together, popularly called the Bretton Woods Twins, both having their headquarters in Washington, D.C., USA. International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund was formed in 1944 and became operative on 27 December 1945 with the main function as exchange rate regulation, purchasing short-term foreign currency liabilities of the member nations from around the world, allotting special drawing rights to the member nations, and most important one as the bailer to the member economies in the situation of BOP crisis. Main functions of the IMF are given below: to facilitate international monetary cooperation, to promote exchange rate stability and orderly exchange arrangement, to assist in the establishment of multilateral system of payments and elimination of foreign exchange restrictions, to assist member countries by temporarily providing financial resources to correct maladjustment in their POP. The Board of Governors of IMF consists of one governor and one alternate governor from each member countries. For India, the finance minister is the ex officio governor while the RBI governor is the alternate governor on the board. Day-to-day management of the IMF is carried out by the managing director who is chairman of the board of executive director, and the board of executive director consists of 24 directors appointed by or elected by member countries or group of countries is the executive body of IMF. India is represented at the IMF by an executive director who also represents three other countries in India's constituency, that is Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Bhutan. India's quota and ranking. The IMF reviews members' quota once every 5 years, last carried out in December 2010. Here, India consented for its quota increase to support member nations tied over the economic constraint caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. IMF made an additional allocation of SDR, special drawing rights, on August 2021. Under this, India was allocated special drawing rights 12.57 billion, equivalent to around 17.86 billion US dollar at the latest exchange rate. Thus, the total SDR holding of India now stand at 13.66 billion, equivalent to around 19.41 billion US dollar at the latest exchange rate. India's current share in SDR stand at 2.75%, while 25% of quota is to be paid in cash, that is in reserve currency. The remaining 75% can be paid in securities. Once a member nation has signed the EFF Exchange Fund Facility agreement with IMF, borrowing can be carried out by the member nation. India signed this agreement in the fiscal year 1981 to 82. India has been borrowing from IMF due to critical balance of payment situations. Once between 1981 to 1984, SDR 3.9 billion, and next in 1991 3.56 billion. India is now a contribute to IMF as it has been participating in the financial transactions plan of the IMF since September 2002. At this time, India was a strong BOP situation and comfortable forex reserve portion. IMF quota formula. Current US and EU financial crisis challenge regarding international payments. The recent financial crisis of US and the EU nations have raised the questions of the challenge of international payments once again. At this crucial juncture, the world seems tossing the idea of reserve currency for all international payments, as if the famous Keynesian idea of a such currency, Bancor, is moving toward a kind of revival. The Bancor was supranational currency that John Maynard Keynes and E.F. Schumacher conceptualized in the period of 1940-42, which the UK proposed to introduce after the Second World War. The proposed currency was to be used in international trade as a unit of account within a multilateral barter clearing system. The International Clearing Union, which would have which have to be founded. The banker was to be backed by barter and its value expressed in weight of gold. However, this British proposal could not prevail against the interest of US, which at the Bretton Woods Conference established the US dollar as the world key currency. Milton Friedman, the famous US economist, insisted that Keynes' theories were incorrect, who believed that inflation was highly destructive and that only monetary policy could control it, and that monetary policy is a heavyweight instrument and cannot be used for short-term economic management. Since the outbreak of financial crisis in 2008, Chinese proposal was revived in a speech delivered in March 2009 entitled Reform to the International Monetary System. Yohu Jiangquan, the governor of the People's Bank of China, called Chinese banker approach far-sighted and proposed the adoption of IMF SDR as a global reserve currency as a response to the financial crisis of 2007 to 8. He argued that the national currency was unsuitable as a global reserve currency because of different dilemma, the difficulty faced by reserve currency issues in trying to simultaneously achieve their domestic monetary policy goals meet other countries' demand for the reserve currency. A similar analysis was articulated in the report of United Nations expert on reform of international monetary and financial system as well as in recent IMF study. This is done for the today. We will talk our next thing in the next video. Thanks for the watching and keep subscribe my channel and keep watching my videos.